11, Episode 15 Recap. The Royal Court of Atlanta. We've reached the end of another messy season of Married to Medicine. After countless blow-ups, 2 trips to Florida, and 1 Birkin bag baby shower, the group closed another chapter of one of Bravo's best shows. Last week, the bitter divide between Quad and the Lunsfords left the group feeling forced to choose sides. In Married to Medicine Season 11, Episode 15, Duchess Toya and Her Royal Court, the cast tried to come together for a Bridgerton-themed anniversary party. However, Toya and Eugene had to make special arrangements to keep their party drama-free. What happened in Married to Medicine Season 11, Episode 15? During the M2M Season 11 finale, Toya and Eugene threw an over-the-top party to celebrate their 16th anniversary. Meanwhile, the rest of the group desperately tried to find ways to get the group back to a place of normalcy. They couldn't figure it out at Contessa's health fair last week, so maybe they can figure it out this week? Nope. In the end, they finally started to reconcile with the fact that this cast simply can't coexist in their current state. Keep on reading for the full breakdown of the M2M Season 11 finale. Duchess Toya's Anniversary Ball. M2M Season 11, Episode 15 kicked off with Toya in the depths of planning her 16th anniversary party. She told her event planners that she wanted it to be Bridgerton-inspired with greenery, candles, a feasting table, harpists, ballerinas, and even Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. She also wanted to get all of this accomplished for $25,000 or less. When talking about the guest list, Toya continued with her lofty aspirations of bringing everyone from the group together. In her mind, there's room for everyone at her party. "I gotta bring us back together because last time it didn't end well," Toya said, referencing the sandbar showdown from a few weeks ago. With that in mind, Toya said everyone from the group had RSVP'd for the party. The only 2 people she hadn't heard from were Greg and Sweet Tea. Of course, they had to make a big to-do about whether or not they would show face at the party. Greg and Sweet Tea's missing RSVP. Elsewhere in Atlanta, Greg and Sweet Tea continued to question their place in the group. According to Greg, he had been feeling hurt by the group recently, so he wasn't sure if he wanted to go to Toya's party. Does anyone else feel like this man has been watching too much Real Housewives of Atlanta? Sweet Tea, who just sits there waiting for instructions from Greg, said that she didn't want to have to beg to be a part of the friend group. Greg, on the other hand, said he felt like the M2M group hadn't put enough effort into trying to make things right with them. Again, it all sounded a bit housewivesy. Essentially, it seems like the Lunsfords don't want to beg to be a part of the group. They want the group to beg them to be a part of it. Still, Toya's RSVP remained unanswered. Welcome to Georgiaton. $25,000 later, Toya's vision of a grand Bridgerton ball came to life. You have to give your props to her for giving us not 1, but 2 noteworthy events this season. Between her parties and her desperate attempts to get the group on the same page, Toya has pulled her weight in Season 11. Somehow, she managed to get the Lunsfords to come to the party, but since was supposed to celebrate her and Eugene's relationship, they really wanted to avoid any more nasty blow-ups like what they saw during their Florida trips. Therefore, they arranged a set schedule for everyone to show up without crossing paths with their enemies. It's obnoxious, but if it prevents the police from getting called on this group, then we're all for it. Toya arranged for the Lunsfords to arrive at 8 p.m. and stay for an hour. Then, Quad and King were to make their arrival at 9 p.m., followed by the Kimes family. It's a good plan, but did it work? Kind of. Did Letitia and Greg show up to Toya's party? At exactly 8 p.m., the Lunsfords came rolling up to the party looking like George and Martha Washington. Immediately, Dr. Mimi was like, "Here comes the mess." Upon her arrival, Sweet Tea said she came in peace, but she also came with tea. It's in her name, but unfortunately, the tea this week was stale. In the spirit of Bridgerton's Lady Whistledown, Tea dropped a newsletter from Lady Truella where she tried to take shots at her castmates. It sounded like she told an AI generator to recap Season 11 with an Old English twist. It didn't land, but kudos to the editors for splicing in those clips of all of the nameless partygoers pretending to look shocked as they read it. When the actual cast of the show read the newsletter, they weren't impressed. There were remarks about Curtis holding Dr. Havenley's waist in some random old Instagram picture. She also claimed that the group became obsessed with Quad's ex-husband. The whole stunt was all over the place, and Dr. Jackie spoke for us all when she ripped the paper in half. At 8:45 p.m., Toya and Dr. Simone started getting the Lunsfords out of the party so that Quad and King could arrive. At first, they didn't want to leave. They got in these elaborate costumes, so of course they'd want to stay longer than an hour. However, they did respect Toya's wishes and left right on schedule. Before they departed, Greg told the husbands that he would be interested in having a conversation with King. That's an itsy-bitsy bit of progress. Quad draws a line with the M2M group. Quad Webb is not interested in coexisting with Dr. Gregory. Season 11, Episode 15, Videos. Remember 2 episodes ago when Quad had everyone over at her house, and they said they would choose her if it came down to her or the Lunsfords. Apparently, Toya forgot about that because at the end of this episode, she was once trying to convince Quad to allow Greg another chance for redemption. "I'm not interested," Quad firmly told the group. Still, Toya argued that it felt unfair to oust the Lunsfords from the group. Contessa felt the same way, and you couldn't help but feel a little frustrated for Quad. They just gave her this grand entrance to the party and showed King a warm welcome back into the group, only to turn around and try to get them to make peace with the Lunsfords. Enough already. In the end, Quad claimed she would walk away from the group if they kept trying to force Greg and Sweet Tea into the equation. Does anyone believe her? Not really, but at this point, we're right there with her. They've dragged this storyline long enough, and it's time to move on. The Lunsfords seem to agree. In a confessional, they said they would be open to talking time away from the group. We're not really sure if they have a choice, and it's like they're going through the stages of grief over this show. At next week's reunion, they'll give us some final parting words. Married to Medicine continues next week with a 3-part reunion on Bravo at 9/8C. Phaedra Parks calls the Married to Medicine cast angry black women during reunion. Bravo viewers were beyond excited to welcome Phaedra Parks back to the network during Season 10 of their hit reality series, Married to Medicine. But after a year and a half of being involved in the mess, the lawyer and mother of 2 walked away from the crew during a heated exchange in Key West, Florida during Season 11. The reunion would have been the place for Phaedra Parks to express her feelings to the rest of the women. However, she decided to skip the filming special altogether. But that doesn't mean she wasn't involved. During a sneak peek of the 3-part special, which will air on March 23, 2025, Andy Cohen showed the ladies a clip of a never-before-seen confessional of Parks, and in it she had choice words for her ex-co-stars. Phaedra Parks blasts her co-stars as angry black women. For those who may be unfamiliar with the situation, Parks returned to Married to Medicine for Season 11. However, she quit halfway through the production after saying she was surprised by her ex-husband and his new wife while filming their cast trip in Florida. But that's not all that Parks went through during her run on the show. The reality star, who will also make her return to the Real Housewives of Atlanta for Season 16 later this year, feuded intensely with some of the other women, including Dr. Heavenly Kimes, Dr. Simone Whitmore, and Dr. Jackie Walters. When Parks was leaving the cast trip, she told Walters that she doesn't play with these types of mean girls, before informing her that she wouldn't return to the group. At the reunion, Cohen played one of Parks' final confessionals, in which she addressed her departure and the status of her relationship with the women. When asked what she'd learned from the ladies, Parks said she discovered they were trash individuals before saying she didn't enjoy anything about this group. She continued, "I feel like they're demonic minions of hell." However, her reckless comments didn't end there. Parks continued and slammed the cast of doctors and doctors' wives as those beaches, adding their mean, angry, black women who are nasty to other women of color because they're jealous and fat. Bravo fans are defending Phaedra Parks on social media.